Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the stars. She had been in space for 6 months now, leading humanity's first mission beyond their home solar system. The ship was not fancy, but it was theirs. Every bolt and wire had been made by human hands on Earth. "Captain, we're getting something strange," said Jake Miller, her first officer. He was looking at his screen with a worried face. "It's a signal, but not from Earth." Lisa walked over to Jake's station. She could feel her heart beating faster. This was what they had come out here for, to find other life in the universe. But now that it might be happening, she felt scared and excited at the same time. "What kind of signal?" she asked. "It's a distress call," Jake said. "But the language is nothing I've ever heard. The computer can't make sense of it." Lisa looked at the main screen. There, far away but getting closer, was a ship. It was beautiful and strange, made of metal that seemed to shine with its own light. It was much bigger than the New Horizon and looked far more advanced. "Can we see what's wrong with them?" Lisa asked. Jake worked at his controls. "Their engines are dead, Captain. They're drifting toward that neutron star. In about 4 hours, they'll be pulled in and destroyed." Lisa felt a chill run down her back. Neutron stars were among the most dangerous things in space. Their gravity was so strong that nothing could escape once it got too close. If that alien ship was heading toward one, everyone on board would die. "How many people are on that ship?" she asked. "The scans show about 50 life forms," said Dr. Kate Williams from her science station. "They're definitely alive, but their life signs are getting weaker." Lisa looked around the bridge. Her crew was small, only 12 people total. They had come out here to explore, not to fight or rescue anyone. Their ship was not built for dangerous missions like this. "Captain," Jake said quietly, "we should think about this carefully. We don't know who they are or if they're friendly, and our ship is not designed for rescue operations near a neutron star." Lisa knew Jake was right to be careful. They were far from Earth with no way to call for help. If something went wrong, they would all die out here and no one back home would ever know what happened to them. But she kept looking at that alien ship on the screen. 50 people were about to die, and she might be the only one who could save them. "What would we need to do?" she asked. Dr. Williams looked up from her station. "We'd have to get very close to the neutron star. The gravity will try to pull us in too, and we'd need to figure out how to connect to their ship and pull them away. It's very dangerous," Jake added. "We could lose our ship and everyone on board." Lisa walked to the captain's chair and sat down. She thought about Earth so far away. She thought about her crew who trusted her to keep them safe. She thought about her own dreams of exploring the stars. Then she thought about 50 strangers who were about to die. "We're going to help them," she said. Jake started to argue, but Lisa held up her hand. "I know it's dangerous, but we can't just watch them die when we might be able to save them." For the next 3 hours, Lisa and her crew worked harder than they ever had before. They used cables and magnetic clamps to create a way to grab the alien ship. They pushed their engines to the limit, flying closer and closer to the neutron star. The gravity was incredible. Lisa could feel it trying to pull them in. The ship shook and groaned under the stress. Warning lights flashed on every control panel. "We're at the edge of the safe zone," Jake called out. "If we go any closer, we might not be able to get back out." "Just a little more," Lisa said, watching the alien ship get bigger on the screen. Finally, they were close enough. The crew shot cables across the empty space between the ships. The magnetic clamps grabbed hold of the alien vessel's hull. "Got them!" Dr. Williams shouted. "Now get us out of here," Lisa ordered. The New Horizons engines screamed as they fought against the neutron star's pull. For a terrifying moment, Lisa thought they weren't going to make it. The gravity seemed to have them in its grip. Then, slowly, they began to move away. The alien ship came with them, pulled by the cables. Both vessels escaped the neutron star's death trap and flew to safety. Later, when they were far from danger, the alien ship's docking bay opened. A figure in a strange suit came across to the New Horizon. When the airlock opened, Lisa got her first look at an alien. He was tall and thin with blue skin and large eyes. When he spoke, his voice was musical and strange. "I am Captain Veltar of the Stellar Wind," he said in perfect English, though Lisa could see a small device on his throat that must have been translating his words. "You have saved my crew and my ship. This is a debt that cannot be repaid with simple thanks." "We're just glad everyone is safe," Lisa replied. Veltar looked at her with those large, strange eyes. "Your people are new to the stars, yes? You have never met others like us before?" "No," Lisa said. "You're the first." "Then accept this gift," Veltar said, holding out a small, glowing device. "It is a translation matrix. It will allow you to speak with any thinking being in the galaxy. But I must warn you, once you accept this, your people will no longer be unknown. The Galactic Council will learn of your existence." Lisa looked at the device. It was beautiful, like a small star held in metal and crystal. She could feel that it was important, that taking it would change everything for humanity. "What is the Galactic Council?" she asked. "They rule this part of the galaxy," Veltar said. "They decide who may travel the stars and who must stay home. They are not evil, but they are controlling." Lisa reached out and took the device. As soon as it touched her hand, she felt something change in her mind. Suddenly, she could understand Veltar's real voice, not just the translation. "Why did you give this to me?" she asked. Veltar smiled sadly. "Because you saved us when you could have saved yourself. That tells me your people might be different from others I have known. Perhaps different enough to change things." Lisa put the translation matrix in her pocket. She didn't fully understand what she had just accepted, but she knew there was no going back now. She had taken the device not for humanity, but for herself, because she had to know what was out there among the stars. As the alien ship prepared to leave, Veltar looked back at her one more time. "Be careful, Captain Morgan," he said. "The galaxy is not always kind to those who think for themselves." 3 months had passed since Lisa first used the translation matrix. The small device had changed everything. Messages from alien worlds now filled the New Horizons communication systems every day. Some were friendly greetings, others were warnings, and a few were demands. The most important message came from a place called Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council wanted to meet with humanity's representatives. They were not asking, they were commanding. Lisa sat in her captain's chair, reading the message for the 10th time. The words were polite, but she could feel the threat behind them. The Council expected Earth to send someone to speak for all of humanity. Somehow, that someone had become her. "I never wanted to be an ambassador," she said to Jake Miller, who was standing beside her chair. "I just wanted to explore the stars." "Maybe that's why you're the right person for the job," Jake replied. "You're not trying to impress anyone or gain power. You just want to learn." Lisa looked at the translation matrix sitting on her desk. The small device glowed softly, and she could feel it working in her mind. Sometimes she wondered if the thoughts she was thinking were really her own anymore. 2 weeks later, the New Horizon arrived at Nexus Prime. The planet was incredible to see. Cities of glass and metal covered its surface, and ships from dozens of different worlds filled the space around it. Lisa had never imagined that so many different types of life could exist. The council building was enormous, bigger than any structure on Earth. Inside, Lisa found herself in a vast chamber filled with beings she could never have dreamed of. There were creatures made of living light, others that looked like walking trees, and some that seemed to be made of metal and crystal. At the center of it all sat High Arbiter Kethral. He was tall and imposing, with skin like black stone and eyes that glowed red. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire chamber. "So," he said, looking down at Lisa, "humanity finally comes before the council. You are small and young, but you have already caused quite a stir in our galaxy." Lisa tried to stand tall, even though she felt very small in this place. "We didn't mean to cause any trouble. We were just trying to help someone in need." "Help?" Kethral repeated, as if the word tasted strange. "Yes? We have heard about your rescue of the Zephyrian vessel. It was unexpected behavior." A creature that looked like a glowing jellyfish floated forward. "Most species," it said in a voice like singing, "would have calculated the risks and chosen their own safety over strangers. But humans," added a being that seemed to be made of living metal, "act on emotion rather than logic. This makes them unpredictable and potentially dangerous." Lisa felt anger rising in her chest, but the translation matrix seemed to push the feeling down. She found herself wanting to agree with these aliens, to see their point of view. The feeling scared her. "We believe," Kethral continued, "that humanity needs guidance. You will submit to galactic law and accept supervised integration into our civilization. This is not a request." "And if we refuse?" Lisa asked, fighting against the Matrix's influence on her thoughts. "Then your species will be quarantined," Kethral said simply. "No human ship will be allowed to leave your solar system. You will remain alone until you learn wisdom." Lisa felt the Matrix working harder now, trying to make her see the sense in what the Council was saying. They were older and wiser than humanity. They had maintained peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. Surely they knew what was best. But something deep inside her rebelled against these thoughts. She remembered her childhood on Earth, when adults had tried to tell her what she could and couldn't do. She had always asked why, even when it got her in trouble. "I need time to think about this," she said. Kethral's red eyes narrowed. "You have 3 days. Then you will give us your answer." Lisa was given quarters in the council building. The rooms were beautiful but felt like a prison. She could not shake the feeling that she was being watched all the time. On the second day, Dr. Kate Williams arrived from the New Horizon. Lisa was so happy to see a friendly face that she almost cried. "How are you holding up?" Kate asked as they walked through the building's gardens. "Something's wrong," Lisa said quietly. "The translation matrix. I think it's doing more than just translating language. It's changing how I think." Kate looked worried. "What do you mean?" "When the council talks, part of me wants to agree with everything they say. But I know that's not really me. I would never just accept someone else's rules without questioning them." Kate nodded slowly. "I've been studying the Matrix since you got it. The technology is far beyond anything we understand. But I think you're right. It's not just translating words, it's translating thoughts and emotions, too. Can you help me? Lisa asked. Maybe, Kate said, but it will be risky. If the council finds out we're trying to modify their technology, they might see it as an act of war. That night, Lisa and Kate worked in secret. They used equipment from the New Horizon to study the translation matrix. What they found made Lisa's blood run cold. The device was designed to make other species more like the council members, logical, obedient, and willing to follow orders without question. It was not a gift at all. It was a tool of control. No wonder the galaxy has been peaceful for so long, Kate whispered. Everyone who gets one of these things becomes easier to control. But I can still think for myself, Lisa said. Why isn't it working completely on me? Kate smiled. Because you're stubborn. The Matrix was designed for species that naturally think as groups. But humans are individuals first. We don't like being told what to do, even by our own kind. They worked through the night, trying to find a way to block the Matrix's influence without destroying it completely. Lisa needed to be able to communicate with the Council, but she also needed to think clearly. Finally, as the sun rose over Nexus Prime, they found a solution. Using principles from Earth's early computer systems, they created a filter that would let the translation work while blocking the mental conditioning. When Lisa put the modified matrix back on, she immediately felt the difference. Her mind was clear again. The Council's words would no longer cloud her judgment. "Thank you," she said to Kate. "Now I can face them as myself, not as what they want me to be." On the third day, Lisa returned to the council chamber. Kethrall was waiting for her, along with representatives from dozens of alien worlds. "Have you reached a decision?" he asked. Lisa stood straight and looked him in the eye. "Yes, humanity will not submit to galactic law. We will find our own way among the stars." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some aliens seemed shocked, others furious. But Lisa noticed that a few looked interested, even pleased. Kethrall raised his hand for silence. "Then you choose quarantine. Your species will remain trapped in your home system until you learn wisdom." "If that's how it has to be," Lisa said, "then that's how it will be. But we will not give up our freedom to think for ourselves." As the council session ended and Lisa prepared to leave, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Captain Veltar, the Zephyrian she had saved. "That was well done," he said quietly. "Few have ever defied the council so boldly." "It was the right thing to do," Lisa replied. Veltar smiled. "Yes, it was, and you should know. You are not alone in thinking so. There are others who have grown tired of the Council's control. Your courage may inspire them to speak as well." As Lisa walked back to the New Horizon, she felt scared, but also proud. She had chosen to think for herself, rather than accept what others wanted her to believe. It might have doomed humanity to isolation, but at least they would remain free. She touched the modified translation matrix and smiled. Whatever came next, she would face it as herself, not as what the galaxy expected her to be. News of Lisa's defiance spread through the galaxy faster than light itself. Within days, alien communication networks buzzed with stories about the human captain who had refused the Galactic Council's demands. Some called her foolish. Others called her brave, but everyone was talking about her. High Arbiter Kethrall was not pleased. He stood in his private chambers watching reports from across the galaxy. For the first time in thousands of years, people were questioning the Council's authority. "This human has become a problem," he said to his advisor, a floating creature covered in tentacles. Her resistance to the translation matrix should have been impossible. Perhaps, the advisor suggested, we underestimated human stubbornness. Meanwhile, aboard the New Horizon, Lisa was discovering that she was not the only one affected by the translation matrix. Commander Ben Carter, who led the small military escort that had followed them from Earth, came to see her in her quarters. "Captain," he said, looking tired and worried, "I need to tell you something. Ever since we got to this part of space, I've been feeling strange, like my thoughts aren't completely my own." Lisa nodded. "You've been exposed to the Matrix's effects, too. It doesn't just work on the person wearing it. It influences anyone nearby." Ben sat down heavily. "I've been having dreams about following council orders, about how peaceful it would be to just do what they say. But when I wake up, I know that's not me. Dr. Williams and I found a way to block the Matrix's control," Lisa said. "We can help you too." Over the next few days, Lisa and Kate worked to protect her entire crew from the Matrix's influence. It was difficult work, and they had to be careful not to damage the device completely. They still needed it to communicate with alien species. While they worked, messages continued to pour in from across the galaxy. Most were angry demands from Council-allied species, but some were different. 3 groups of aliens contacted Lisa in secret: the freelancers, who lived on ships and refused to settle on any Council world; the nomad fleet, which had been wandering the galaxy for centuries; and the independent colonies, who had settlements far from Council space. All 3 groups said the same thing. They supported humanity's right to choose its own path. Captain Veltar also sent secret messages. "Your actions have given hope to many," he wrote. "The Council's control has grown too strong. Some of us remember when species could develop freely, without interference. But the good news came with bad news. Kethral was not content to simply quarantine humanity. He saw Lisa's resistance as a threat that needed to be eliminated completely. If other species see that humans can defy us," he told the full Council, "they might try to do the same. We must make an example that will be remembered for millennia." The Council voted to send a war fleet to Earth. It would be called a peacekeeping mission, but everyone understood the truth. They planned to destroy humanity's ability to travel in space and capture Lisa as a warning to others. When Lisa learned about the fleet, she felt her heart sink. Earth had no real defenses against such an attack. The planet's few ships were explorers and cargo vessels, not warships. But she was not ready to give up. If the Council wanted a fight, she would give them one. "We need to get back to Earth," she told her crew. "Our people need to know what's coming." The trip home took 3 weeks. When the New Horizon finally reached Earth, Lisa found that news of the situation had already arrived. The planet was in chaos. Some people wanted to surrender immediately, others demanded that Earth fight back, and many just felt helpless. Lisa met with Earth's leaders in an emergency session. The room was full of generals, politicians, and scientists, all arguing about what to do. "We should negotiate," said one general. "Maybe we can find some compromise with the Council." "There is no compromise," Lisa replied. "They want to control us completely or destroy us. Those are the only choices they're offering." "Then what do you suggest?" asked the president. "Our ships are no match for their technology." Lisa stood up and looked around the room. "We do what humans do best. We refuse to follow the rules." Over the next month, Lisa worked with Ben Carter and Earth's military leaders to prepare for the coming attack. They could not build better ships in time, but they could think of new ways to use the ships they had. The Council fleet was used to fighting other civilized species who followed the same rules of warfare that had existed for thousands of years. Ships fought in formations, used weapons in predictable ways, and followed codes of honor that limited how battles were fought. Lisa threw all of those rules away. She convinced cargo ship captains to load their vessels with explosives and prepared them for kamikaze attacks. She organized hit-and-run tactics that would strike fast and retreat before the enemy could respond. She even planned psychological warfare, using the translation matrix to broadcast messages designed to confuse and frighten alien crews. "They expect us to fight like them," she explained to her commanders, "so we'll fight like us instead." When the Council fleet arrived, it was massive. Over 200 ships of various sizes, all more advanced than anything Earth possessed. High Arbiter Kethral himself led the fleet aboard a ship the size of a small moon. The first battles went badly for Earth. The Council's weapons were more powerful, their shields stronger, their ships faster. Lisa watched from the New Horizons bridge as several human vessels were destroyed in the opening attacks. But then, her unconventional tactics began to work. A squadron of cargo ships, led by Captain Ryan Davis, managed to break through the enemy formation and ram 3 Council vessels before they could react. The aliens had never seen anyone sacrifice ships so willingly. Human fighters swarmed around larger alien ships like angry bees, too small and fast for the big weapons to target effectively. They used tactics that military experts would have called insane, flying directly into enemy fire to get close enough for their weaker weapons to be effective. Most surprising of all was Lisa's use of the translation matrix. She broadcast messages on all frequencies, speaking directly to the crews of enemy ships. "Why are you fighting us?" she asked in dozens of alien languages. "We have done nothing to harm you. We only want to be free to choose our own path. Is that really worth killing for?" Some alien crews began to hesitate. They had been told they were fighting dangerous criminals, but the humans they were actually facing seemed to be defending their homes and families. The breakthrough came when Lisa led a desperate attack on Kethral's flagship. Flying the New Horizon with a small group of escort fighters, she somehow managed to get through the massive ship's defenses. Standing on the flagship's bridge, facing Kethral directly, Lisa made her final challenge. "You want to control the galaxy," she said, "but you've forgotten that thinking beings have the right to choose. Fight me one-on-one. If you win, humanity will submit. If I win, you leave us alone." Kethral looked at her with his glowing red eyes. "You propose single combat? This is not how civilized species resolve disputes." Lisa smiled. "Exactly. We're not civilized by your standards. We're human, and humans fight for what they believe in." The challenge was broadcast across the entire fleet. Thousands of alien crews watched as their leader faced a single human woman. Some were excited, others confused, but all were interested to see what would happen. Kethral accepted the challenge, but not with weapons. Instead, he proposed a battle of minds, using the translation matrix as both weapon and shield. The winner would be whoever could impose their will on the other. Lisa agreed, knowing it might be a trap, but seeing no other choice. As the mental battle began, she felt Kethral's consciousness pressing against hers, trying to force her to submit to his idea of order and control. But Lisa had something the ancient alien leader had never encountered before: the stubborn human refusal to give up. She fought not with logic or superior knowledge, but with pure determination. In the end, she forced Catherall to experience what it felt like to be human, to value freedom over safety, to choose individual thought over group, harmony to prefer the chaos of choice over the comfort of being told what to do. The mental contact overwhelmed Catherall's ordered mind. For the first time in his long life, he experienced doubt, fear, and the terrible freedom of having to decide for himself what was right. He collapsed, and the battle was over. Standing over the defeated High Arbiter, Lisa spoke to every ship in both fleets. "We don't want to rule anyone or control anything. We just want the right to make our own mistakes and find our own way. That's all any thinking being should ask for." The Council fleet withdrew, but more importantly, Lisa's victory had changed something fundamental in the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, the idea that the Galactic Council could be wrong was spreading from world to world. Change was coming, and it had started with one human woman who refused to think what others wanted her to think. The news of High Arbiter Catherall's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On hundreds of worlds, people who had never questioned the Galactic Council's authority began to ask dangerous questions. Why should ancient laws control how they lived? Who had given the Council the right to decide what was best for everyone? Lisa had returned to Earth expecting to rest, but instead she found herself busier than ever. Messages poured in from alien species she had never heard of, all asking the same thing. How had humanity broken free from Council control? 3 species made their support public. The freelancers, who lived their entire lives on ships traveling between stars, announced they would no longer follow Council trade restrictions. The Nomad fleet, which had wandered the galaxy for centuries, declared themselves allies of Earth. Most surprising of all, the independent colonies sent a formal message recognizing humanity's right to self-rule. But these victories came with a price. Catherall had not given up. Though his mind was damaged from the mental battle with Lisa, he was still High Arbiter, and he was very angry. "The human contamination spreads," he said to the remaining Council members. "If we do not act decisively, our entire civilization will collapse into chaos." Many Council members agreed. For thousands of years, their system had brought peace and order to the galaxy. The idea that individual species might choose different paths terrified them. "We must make an example," declared Zixcar, a creature made of living crystal who served as the Council's military commander, not just of humanity, but of any who would follow their example. "What do you propose?" asked another Council member. "Total siege," Zixcar replied. "We surround Earth and cut off all contact with the outside galaxy. No ships in, no ships out. We starve them until they surrender completely." The new siege fleet that assembled was even larger than the first one. This time, it included ships from every major Council species. More importantly, it carried new weapons designed specifically to counter human tactics. When the massive fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, Lisa felt her heart sink. There were over 500 ships, arranged in perfect formations, that blocked every route to and from Earth. "They're not just trying to defeat us this time," Jake Miller observed as they studied the enemy formation. "They want to make sure no one can help us." Lisa nodded grimly. The freelancers, nomads, and independent colonies had sent messages of support, but their fleets were too small and scattered to break through such a massive blockade. But Lisa had not been idle since the first battle. Working with Captain Ryan Davis and Earth's military engineers, she had prepared new surprises for the Council forces. The key insight came from Dr. Kate Williams, who had been studying captured Council technology. Their ships are incredibly advanced, she explained, but they're also incredibly standardized. Every species uses the same basic designs, the same communication protocols, the same tactical doctrines. Which means, Lisa asked, they have the same weaknesses. If we can find a way to exploit one ship, we can exploit them all. The weakness turned out to be in their communication systems. The Council used quantum entanglement networks that allowed instant communication across vast distances. It was far superior to anything humans had, but it also meant that every ship was connected to every other ship. If we can hack into their network, Kate explained, we might be able to cause chaos throughout their entire fleet. Lisa smiled. I know just the person for that job. She contacted Tom Brady, a computer expert from Earth, who had helped develop the modifications to the translation matrix. Tom had spent his career finding ways to break into systems that were supposed to be secure. Can you do it? Lisa asked during their video call. Tom grinned. Lady, I've been waiting my whole life for a challenge like this. Alien computer systems. Bring it on. The plan that emerged was typically human in its audacity. Instead of trying to fight 500 ships with Earth's small fleet, they would turn the enemy's own technology against them. Tom worked for days, using modified translation matrices to decode the Council's quantum communication protocols. It was incredibly complex work, but he had help from an unexpected source, Captain Veltar, who secretly provided technical specifications for Council systems. Meanwhile, Lisa prepared her own part of the plan. She would lead a small squadron of ships directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. Not to attack, but to get close enough for Tom's hack to work. This is insane, Ben Carter said when she explained the plan. You're talking about flying into the middle of 500 enemy ships. Sometimes insane is all we have, Lisa replied. The attack began at dawn on a Tuesday. Lisa led 12 ships, including the New Horizon, in a desperate charge toward the Council fleet's command center. It looked like a suicide mission, and the Council commanders initially thought it was exactly that. The humans are making their final desperate attack, Zixcar reported to Kethral. They will be destroyed within minutes. But as the human ships flew deeper into the Council formation, something strange happened. Instead of trying to destroy enemy vessels, they seemed to be trying to get as close as possible to the command ships. What are they doing? One Council captain asked. The answer came when Tom Brady's hack finally broke through the Council's quantum network. Suddenly, every ship in the fleet began receiving conflicting orders. Communication systems crashed, navigation computers gave contradictory directions, and weapon systems locked onto their own allies. The perfect formation that had blockaded Earth dissolved into chaos. Ships collided with each other as their autopilots malfunctioned. Weapons fired randomly as safety protocols failed. The quantum communication network designed to coordinate the largest fleet in galactic history became a weapon that destroyed itself. But Lisa's real stroke of genius came next. Instead of trying to destroy the confused enemy ships, she used the hacked communication system to broadcast a message to every crew member in the Council fleet. You came here to fight for the Council, her voice said in hundreds of alien languages. But ask yourselves, what are you really fighting for? Are you defending your homes and families? Or are you just following orders from leaders who see you as tools to be used? The message included recordings from the mental battle between Lisa and Kethral, showing how the High Arbiter viewed other species as subjects to be controlled rather than partners to be respected. The effect was immediate and devastating. Crew, Members who had served the council faithfully for generations suddenly saw their leaders in a new light. Many ships simply stopped fighting and began broadcasting demands for answers from their commanders. "Why didn't you tell us the truth about the humans?" one alien captain asked over the fleet's communication network. "They saved one of our ships and asked for nothing in return. We are the aggressors here." "The translation matrix was designed to control our thoughts," said another. "How many of our decisions have really been our own?" Zixcar tried to restore order, but it was too late. The fleet was falling apart not from enemy action, but from internal rebellion. Ship after ship declared that it would no longer follow council orders. In desperation, Kethral himself took command of the remaining loyal vessels. His damaged mind, still reeling from the mental battle with Lisa, could not accept that his perfect system was collapsing. "All ships, target the human vessels," he ordered. "Destroy them before their contamination spreads further." But only a few dozen ships responded. The rest of the fleet had either joined the rebellion or simply withdrawn from the battle entirely. Lisa found herself facing Kethral's flagship with just her small squadron. The odds were still terrible, but she was no longer alone. Ships from the rebel fleet moved to defend the humans, including several that had been trying to destroy them just hours before. The final battle was short and decisive. Kethral's remaining forces were outnumbered and demoralized. When his flagship was surrounded by former allies demanding his surrender, the High Arbiter finally accepted defeat. "You have destroyed everything," he said to Lisa over the communication link. "The galaxy will descend into chaos without the Council's guidance." "Maybe," Lisa replied. "But it will be our choice to make that chaos. And maybe we'll choose to build something better instead." As the Council fleet retreated, carrying news of their defeat back to Nexus Prime, Lisa looked out at the stars and smiled. The galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could predict. For the first time in millennia, entire civilizations would be free to choose their own paths. It would be messy, chaotic, and sometimes dangerous, but it would be their choice to make. Lisa touched the translation matrix at her throat and felt its modified circuits humming with new possibilities. The device that had been created to control. Thinking beings would now help them communicate as equals. The revolution had begun, and there was no going back. 6 months after the siege of Earth ended, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Council still existed, but its absolute power was broken. Dozens of species had declared independence, forming their own governments and alliances. Some chose democracy, others selected different systems entirely, but all shared one thing: they were making their own choices. Lisa stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon, watching a sight that would have been impossible a year ago. Ships from 12 different species flew together in a loose formation, heading toward the Kepler 442 system to establish the galaxy's first truly free trade station. Among them was Captain Veltar's ship, the Stellar Wind. The Zephyrian had become humanity's closest ally and Lisa's good friend. Also in the formation were vessels from the Freelancers, the Nomad Fleet, and several species that had broken away from Council control. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" said Dr. Kate Williams, joining Lisa at the observation window. A year ago, ships from different species only met during Council-supervised events. Now look at them, working together by choice. Lisa nodded, but she looked troubled. "I keep wondering if we did the right thing." Kethral was wrong about how he wanted to control people, but he wasn't wrong about everything. Some parts of the galaxy are descending into chaos. It was true. Not every species had handled sudden freedom well. 3 systems were currently fighting civil wars as different factions disagreed about how to govern themselves. Pirates who had been suppressed by Council forces were becoming active again. Some worlds had simply closed their borders and refused to communicate with anyone. "Change is always messy," Kate replied. "But that doesn't mean it's wrong." A chime sounded, indicating an incoming message. Lisa walked to the communication console and activated it. The face that appeared on the screen made her smile. It was Tom Brady calling from Earth. "Hey, Captain," Tom said with his usual grin. "I thought you'd want to know. We just got confirmation that the independent colonies have officially recognized the Free Trade Association. That makes 15 species who've joined your new alliance." "It's not my alliance," Lisa protested. "It belongs to everyone who chooses to be part of it." "Right. And who came up with the idea for a voluntary association instead of a controlling government?" Tom asked. "Face it, Lisa, you've become the most important human in history." After ending the call, Lisa walked through the ship to check on her crew. They had been traveling for 3 months now, visiting worlds that wanted to learn about human ideas of freedom and self-determination. It was exhausting work, but also exciting. In the engineering section, she found Jake Miller working with Ben Carter on modifications to their faster-than-light drive. The improvements had been suggested by alien engineers who were sharing their knowledge freely rather than keeping it secret as the Council had done. "How's it coming?" Lisa asked. "Better than expected," Jake replied. "These new modifications should increase our range by 30%. We'll be able to reach systems that have been cut off from galactic civilization for centuries. And some of them might not want to be found," Ben added. "We're getting reports of species that went into hiding during the Council's early expansion. They might not trust anyone from the galaxy that tried to control them." Lisa understood that concern. Trust was something that had to be earned, especially from people who had been hurt before. Their next stop was a system called Haven, where a species called the Gardeners had been living in isolation for over 1,000 years. The Gardeners had refused all contact with the Council, preferring to tend their beautiful forest worlds in peace. When the New Horizon arrived at Haven, Lisa was amazed by what she saw. The planets were covered in gardens that stretched from pole to pole, with cities that seemed to grow from the trees themselves. It was clear that the gardeners had spent centuries perfecting their harmony with nature. The first meeting took place in a grove of silver trees near the gardeners' capital. The gardeners themselves were tall, slender beings with bark-like skin and leaves instead of hair. Their leader, an ancient individual called Root Singer, spoke with a voice like wind through branches. "We have heard of the changes in the galaxy," Root Singer said. "The young council claimed to bring peace, but we remembered older times when species destroyed each other in endless wars. We chose isolation over such peace." "We're not asking you to join anything," Lisa replied. "We just want you to know that you now have choices. The galaxy has remembered that different species can find different ways to live." Root Singer's leaf hair rustled in what Lisa learned was the gardener equivalent of laughter. "You speak of choice as if it were a new invention. We have always had choices. We chose to hide from those who would force their will upon us. And now you don't have to hide anymore, if you don't want to," Lisa said. The negotiations with the gardeners took weeks. They were a careful people who considered every decision for a long time before acting. But eventually, they agreed to limited contact with the Free Trade Association, sharing knowledge about environmental restoration in exchange for information about other peaceful species. It was a small step, but an important one. The gardeners had survived by isolating themselves, but now they could choose to connect with others without giving up their independence. As the New Horizon prepared to leave Haven, Root Singer gave Lisa a gift, a small cutting from one of their silver trees carefully preserved in a special container. "This will grow anywhere," Root Singer explained. "Plant it on your homeworld as a reminder that different forms of life can flourish when they are free to follow their own nature." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, Lisa found herself thinking about everything that had happened since she first put on the translation matrix. She had started as an explorer who just wanted to see what was beyond Earth's solar system. Now she was being called the leader of a galactic revolution, but she didn't feel like a leader. She felt like someone who had stumbled into an important moment and tried to do the right thing. When they reached Earth, Lisa was surprised to find a delegation waiting for her. Representatives from over 20 species had gathered to discuss the formation of a new galactic government, one based on voluntary cooperation rather than enforced control. "We want you to be the first president of the Free Galaxy Alliance," said Ambassador Chen from Earth's government. "Every species we've talked to agrees that you're the right person for the job." Lisa looked around at the assembled aliens and humans, all watching her expectantly. She thought about the power being offered to her, the chance to shape the entire galaxy's future. Then she thought about what had started this whole adventure, her desire to explore and learn, not to rule and control. "No," she said quietly. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. "Captain Morgan," said a freelancer representative, "this alliance needs leadership. Without someone to coordinate between species, it might fall apart." "Then don't have someone. Coordinate," Lisa replied. "Have something. Create institutions that can function without depending on any single person. Make systems that serve the people instead of making people serve the systems." She stood and addressed the entire assembly. "I didn't fight the council because I wanted to replace it with something similar. I fought it because thinking beings deserve the right to choose their own paths. That includes choosing their own leaders." "But what will you do?" asked Captain Veltar. Lisa smiled and touched the translation matrix at her throat. "What I've always wanted to do. I'm going to explore. There are parts of the galaxy that have never been mapped, species that have never been contacted, mysteries that have never been solved." She looked around the room one more time. "You don't need me to tell you how to live. You never did. You just needed someone to remind you that you had the right to figure it out for yourselves." 3 days later, the New Horizon left Earth orbit for the last time. Lisa had resigned her commission and gathered a crew of volunteers who shared her passion for discovery. They were heading for the galaxy's outer rim, where ancient civilizations might still exist in isolation. As Earth grew smaller behind them, Jake Miller joined Lisa on the bridge. "Any regrets?" he asked. Lisa thought about the question seriously. She had given up the chance to lead a galactic alliance, to have power over billions of lives, to be remembered as one of history's most important figures. "None," she said finally. "I did what I did for myself, because I had to know what was out there, and because I couldn't stand the thought of someone else deciding what I was allowed to think." She activated the translation matrix and sent a message to all the ships of the Free Trade Association. "To anyone listening, the galaxy is full of wonders waiting to be discovered. Don't let anyone tell you you're not worthy of seeing them, and don't let anyone else decide what they mean to you." As the New Horizon jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading toward unknown stars, Lisa smiled. The galaxy was free to choose its own path, and she was free to choose hers. For the first time since this all began, she was doing exactly what she wanted to do, exploring the universe as herself, not as what others expected her to be. Behind them, in the civilized parts of the galaxy, the work of building a better future continued. Different species were learning to cooperate without controlling each other.